The history of the United States is a rich and complex narrative that spans thousands of years. It begins with the arrival of Native American peoples who migrated from Asia via a land bridge that connected Siberia to Alaska during the last ice age. These indigenous peoples spread across the continent, developing diverse cultures, languages, and societies. Some of the most well-known civilizations include the ancestral Puebloans in the southwest, the Mississippian culture in the southeast, and the Iroquois Confederacy in the northeast. In the late 15th century, European exploration of the Americas began in earnest, spurred by a desire for new trade routes and the promise of riches. Christopher Columbus, sailing under the Spanish flag, reached the Caribbean in 1492, opening the door for further exploration and colonization. The Spanish established colonies in what is now Mexico, Florida, and the southwestern United States. The French settled in the region around the Great Lakes and along the Mississippi River, while the British established their first permanent colony at Jamestown, Virginia, in 1607. The British colonies grew rapidly, attracting settlers seeking religious freedom, economic opportunity, and a fresh start. By the mid-1700s, 13 British colonies stretched along the eastern seaboard from Georgia to New Hampshire. These colonies developed their own economies and systems of government, but tensions with Britain grew over issues such as taxation, trade restrictions, and a lack of representation in the British Parliament. In 1775, these tensions erupted into open conflict with the start of the American Revolutionary War. Key figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and John Adams emerged as leaders of the independence movement. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, a document largely written by Jefferson, proclaiming the colonies' right to self-governance. After 8 years of war, the Treaty of Paris was signed in 1783, officially recognizing American independence and establishing the new nation's borders. The fledgling United States faced numerous challenges in its early years, particularly in creating a stable government. The Articles of Confederation, adopted during the war, proved inadequate for managing the country's affairs. In 1787, a constitutional convention was convened in Philadelphia, resulting in the drafting of the United States Constitution. This new framework established a stronger federal government with an executive branch led by a president, a bicameral legislature, and an independent judiciary. The Constitution was ratified in 1789, and George Washington was elected as the first president. Throughout the 19th century, the United States experienced rapid growth and expansion. Driven by the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the nation was destined to expand across the North American continent, settlers moved westward, often clashing with Native American tribes. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803, orchestrated by President Thomas Jefferson, doubled the size of the country. The Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848, resulted in the acquisition of present-day California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. However, the nation was deeply divided over the issue of slavery. The northern states, which were industrializing, generally opposed the expansion of slavery, while the southern states, whose economies were based on agriculture and dependent on slave labor, supported it. These tensions led to a series of political compromises that ultimately failed to resolve the issue. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president on a platform opposing the spread of slavery, prompting several southern states to secede and form the Confederate States of America. The ensuing Civil War, 1861 to 1865, was the deadliest conflict in American history. The Union, led by Lincoln and General Ulysses S. Grant, fought to preserve the nation and end slavery, while the Confederacy, led by President Jefferson Davis and General Robert E. Lee, fought for independence and the right to maintain their way of life. The war ended in a Union victory, and the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified in 1865, abolishing slavery throughout the United States. The post-war period, known as Reconstruction, sought to rebuild the South and integrate formerly enslaved people into American society. Despite the efforts of Reconstruction governments and the passage of the 14th and 15th Amendments, which granted citizenship and voting rights to African Americans, the period was marked by significant resistance and the rise of segregationist policies, known as Jim Crow laws. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the United States emerge as a major industrial power. Innovations in technology and transportation, such as the transcontinental railroad and the telephone, transformed the economy and society. Immigrants from Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world flocked to American cities, contributing to a diverse cultural landscape. However, this period also saw significant labor unrest, as workers fought for better wages and working conditions. The United States' role on the world stage grew as it participated in World War I, helping to defeat the Central Powers. The post-war period, known as the Roaring Twenties, was marked by economic prosperity and cultural change, but it ended with the Great Depression of the 1930s, a severe economic downturn that affected millions of Americans. The election of Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1932 brought about the New Deal, a series of programs and reforms designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform. The U.S. economy gradually improved, but it was the outbreak of World War II that fully revitalized American industry. The United States joined the Allies after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, playing a crucial role in the defeat of Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. The war ended in 1945 with the use of atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In the post-war era, the United States emerged as one of the world's two superpowers, alongside the Soviet Union. The Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension and competition, dominated international relations for the next 4 decades. This era saw conflicts such as the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Domestically, the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., sought to end racial segregation and discrimination, achieving significant legal and social advancements with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The late 20th century saw continued technological advancements, economic growth, and cultural change. The fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked the end of the Cold War, and the United States emerged as the world's sole superpower. However, the country faced new challenges, including economic inequality, political polarization, and the threat of terrorism. The attacks of September 11, 2001, led to the War on Terror and conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. In recent years, the United States has grappled with issues such as healthcare reform, climate change, immigration, and social justice. The election of Barack Obama in 2008, the first African American president, and the subsequent rise of movements like Black Lives Matter and #MeToo, reflect ongoing struggles for equality and justice. The COVID-19 pandemic, beginning in 2020, had a profound impact on American life, highlighting disparities in healthcare and economic stability. The history of the United States is a testament to the enduring ideals of democracy, freedom, and the pursuit of a more perfect union. It is a story of diverse peoples coming together, overcoming challenges, and striving to build a nation that upholds the principles of liberty and justice for all.